Are you digging up the dirt on your dead? Want to find out how? Hear the latest on new family history sources and websites with interesting and fun guests and experts. Find out what other people have been learning about their ancestors. From kings to thieves, inventors to farmers, nothing that's been discovered should surprise us anymore, but it always does. Find out what we mean. Great family history stories and information are on the way now with Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and extremegenes.com.
It's been this way for generations.
Extreme Genes, Extreme Genes. Dates in the Bible don't quite match the marriage certificate. Extreme Genes, Extreme Genes. Uh-oh.
Hello, Genies. You have found us. It is Extreme Genes Family History Radio and extremegenes.com, where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. I am your congenial radio root sleuth Fisher. It is good to have you here. Hope you're getting some great stories from the old folks, making sure they get saved. Later in the show, we're going to talk to a man named Steve Young, a guy who has no doubt been tormented by the fact that he never won a Heisman Trophy or even a single football game for that matter. No, he has done something at least just as awesome, though. He has started a beautifully crafted television show called Our American Family that you can see all over the country, where people who lived in the first half of the 20th century tell their own stories. I've seen it. I know you're going to like it. He'll be here to tell us about it coming up in about 10 or 11 minutes. It's just a great reminder we need to get these stories from our seniors while we still can. Then later in the show, I'll introduce you to an artist named Valerie Atkinson. Valerie is from all over the country, lived in New York for a while, and has produced some pretty remarkable art as an expression of her love of her ancestry. She'll talk about how you can use art within your family to get children involved in family history and how this can help them to appreciate their ancestors. And, of course, Tom Perry, our preservation authority from tmcplace.com, will be in with a fascinating announcement for you later in the show. And, yes, we do have another celebrity family history segment this week. Last week, it was Butch Patrick of the Munsters who told us about how he's buying back his grandmother's home in the Midwest and is planning to actually host some events there because it is haunted. Yes, a real Munster house. This week, here's my visit with British actor Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett in Star Wars and Q's assistant in 2 classic James Bond flicks.
My family's history? Well, most of us grew up, I'm Scottish. My grandfather, he was a script writer. Funny enough, he did Scott of the Antarctic. He wrote the script for that. And he was an author, a great man, very sort of quite greedy in a lot of ways, but fun, with a twinkle in his eye. And my grandmother was the one that had some money for the family, but my grandfather took it all. Families are very important. That's why the young Boba Fett is so hopeless that I have to turn him and say, behave, put your foot down. Put your foot down.
My family goes as far as just me.
Exactly.
That's it? It just we're hatched or what?
That's just greed.
No, I was a clone.
Oh. How far back have you traced your lines, Jeremy?
Around to about 1870, something like that.
Everybody's got a story, and they usually love to share it if you just ask. And by the way, that was the more modern Boba Fett, Daniel Logan, popping in there about being hatched. We'll have another one for you next week. I think they're fun. Our survey over the last week on extremegenes.com was about the most children in your lines born to one mother. In our family, that number is 19. And apparently that is not horribly uncommon. 17 to 23 was the top range chosen, followed by 9 to 12 and then 13 to 16. Nobody voted for 5 to 8, and we didn't even give you the option for 4 or less. So thanks for voting. This week's question has to do with the ancestral politicians. Do you have any ancestors who were politicians? You can vote yes, congressman, yes, president, yes, some other office, no, thank goodness. Cast your vote now at extremegenes.com. It is time once again for your family histoire news from the pages of extremegenes.com. 8 American World War II veterans finally received the honors they should have received some 70 years ago. In the basement of the Pentagon, they arrived relying on canes, walkers, or escorts, and in one case with an oxygen tank in hand. They were there to receive medals and recognition as former prisoners of war. For decades, men like these families were suspected of having bailed out or intentionally putting their planes down in Switzerland or other neutral countries to avoid the huge risk of aerial combat. These men were held in Switzerland in a notorious prison camp under stark conditions, commanded by a Nazi sympathizer who later was accused of war crimes. The ceremony was the result of 15 years of research into the subject by Army Major Dwight Mears, whose late grandfather had been held in Switzerland during the war. What started as Major Mears' interest in his family's history became a passion, which then resulted in this long overdue recognition for a few living men and many more who are now gone. Read all the details at extremegenes.com. The New York Daily News has done an outstanding review of a memoir of a man born on the wrong side of the Berlin Wall. His name is Maxim Leo. He's a journalist, and his story is called Red Love, the story of an East German family. The book is referred to by one reviewer as an official history of a country that no longer exists. Leo covers his family's story on both sides, including his mother and father and both sets of grandparents. The compelling tale follows his family from the beginning of World War II through the creation of the Berlin Wall and its eventual destruction in 1989. Leo writes, "The GDR has been dead for ages, but it's still quite alive in my family, like a ghost that can't find peace." Included in his book are family stories of a former Nazi soldier, his maternal grandfather resistance fighter for the French, dyed-in-the-wool socialists, and one who openly questioned socialism. Leo wrote, "I wished I could go back to the GDR to understand what actually happened there, to my grandfather, to my parents, to me." That's when he began interviewing and photographing family members. And then he said, "I asked questions that I'd normally never have dared to go near. I was allowed to do that because I was a genealogist now." Red Love, the story of an East German family, sounds like a great book on one family focused on the 50 years between 1939 and 1989. Read the full Daily News story at extremegenes.com. We've been talking a lot lately about the wealth of Irish records that are now making their way online from various companies like Ancestry and Find My Past, as well as the National Archives of Ireland. Well, this past week, the Minister of Arts, Heritage, and Gaeltacht, I think that's how you say it, rolled out all of their pre-1901 Irish census holdings. Unfortunately, they did not amount to much. You see, in 1821, a full 20 years before the rest of the UK started taking censuses, Ireland completed their first. 8 censuses existed by the time of the completion of the 1911 census. The first 4 were in the Public Record Office. The Registrar General was responsible for the censuses after 1851. And if you're of Irish ancestry, you're going to hate this. During World War I, for a reason no one gets today, the Registrar General ordered the destruction of the 1881 and 1891 Irish census records. They joined the 1861 and 1871 records that had also been destroyed not long after the censuses were taken. Privacy space, who knows the reasons. Then the Public Record Office was destroyed in 1922, taking with it the censuses of 1821, 31, 41, and 51, the first 4. Just a few pieces of these survived, and that's what was released online this past week. Makes you want to cry, doesn't it? Coming up next, the producer for the TV series Our American Family, Steve Young, talks about what they're doing to preserve the stories of the first half of the 20th century in the voices of the people who lived it. It's coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and extremegenes.com.
Your priceless 8mm home movies and your precious family videos are deteriorating right now. Heat, moisture, insects, dust, mold, time, they're all robbing you of your family's memories. It's time to preserve those treasures right now by digitizing them at tmcplace.com. They've been preserving memories for over 40 years. Home movies, videos, audio tapes, vinyl records, photos, slides, and even scrapbooks. Whether your treasures are enduring the humidity of Massachusetts or the heat of Arizona, tmcplace.com can digitize your audio and images without harming the originals and returning them to you with free shipping both ways on most orders. tmcplace.com can even let you track your package in real time with a special GPS tracking device. Trustworthy, experienced, affordable. Call tmcplace.com toll-free at 1-866-483-1717 to talk to Extreme Genes Preservation Authority Tom Perry about your project. or order online at shop.tmcplace.com.
You know, when it comes to family history, there's nothing quite like the thrill of the hunt and the excitement generated by every new discovery. Who were your immigrant ancestors? What ship did they come over on? Why did they come when they did? Did they participate in any military campaigns that took place in their day? What personal challenges did your forefathers and mothers endure? Heritage Consulting, Genealogy Research Services can get you the answers to many of these questions and more. They've been providing professional research and consultation services since 1978. Call toll-free 1-877-537-2000 to speak directly to a professional family history researcher. Heritage Consulting can research, collect, analyze, and interpret the countless documents your ancestors generated throughout their lives and present the findings to you in an attractive book or in an electronic format. The cost? Far less than you'd expect for far more than you can imagine. 877-537-2000 or go to heritageconsulting.com.
And welcome back to Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, your radio root sleuth, talking to Steve Young, not the football player, Hall of Famer and all that. Steve Young is the producer of a show called Our American Family, which you may see on your public television station in your area. Steve, welcome to the show. Nice to have you along.
Oh, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, tell us about this thing. I was looking at it online, and first of all, it is a beautifully produced show filled with stories, which is a lot of what we try to do right here because there's just an endless supply. It will never stop. The graphics are gorgeous. The stories are well told by the people themselves. When did this start? How'd you get the idea? And what's your involvement in family history throughout your life?
Our American Family began as an inspiration to capture my own family's story before it was too late. My father is one of 8 children, tenant farmer family from North Mississippi. And we lost my grandmother unexpectedly, and she was the treasure trove of all things about the Young family. And I realized that we'd lost a huge opportunity, but that it wasn't too late, that we had a chance if we jumped on it to talk to my dad and my aunts and my uncles that were still living to understand what did it mean to be a family in the first half of the 1900s. You know, Scott, that's the period that's the most like all of the generations that came before. My family were farmers. I think they went back to Scotland being farmers, but it was really after World War II that everything changed, and it's still changing. So we don't have many years left where we can speak with those who lived through that change. And so I think we are trying our best in our way to inspire others to reach out to their elders and get their family stories from this simpler time before it's too late.
Well, you know, that is a very interesting way to look at it. I hadn't thought of it that way. But the first half of the 20th century was more like the 19th than the 21st.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that I muse on a lot is we talk a lot about family values, you know, the things our parents taught us. And from what I can tell doing this project, a lot of that really harkens back to this era and before, when times were much tougher. Families had to pull together to be much tighter, and therefore family values wasn't a slogan. It was simply the way you made it and what you valued when you didn't have much. And we have been all this time piggybacking on those values that were forged back in that simpler time. And I wanted to make sure that we told some everyday family stories in their own words, not with a voiceover, but literally in the words of those who lived it. And that's what we're doing with Our American Family.
And each one that you interview becomes a great treasure for that family, anybody tied to them, and people actually who were maybe associated with them as neighbors.
Yes, you know what's been really interesting about this and why it turned into a series for public television is because people who didn't know the Young family had an opportunity to see the documentary when we made it, and they had a visceral reaction to it. And that was fascinating to me because they don't know my family, and yet it struck them somehow. And what we have figured out, Scott, is that when you are watching an everyday family telling their story, you're looking in a mirror. It may not be the same color person, it may not be from the same part of the country, but there's something common, and you look in the mirror and you instantly think about your own family. We realized we had that opportunity to inspire others to capture their own family stories with a program like this.
You know, we've certainly discovered the same thing here. A lot of people will call in and share their discovery, and it might not be your family. It might not even be from your part of the country. But when you listen to it, it certainly is universal to the human family, and we all benefit from hearing that excitement and what those stories are and the things they've discovered.
Exactly, and that's what we're doing, and are just thrilled to have the opportunity to sit down and do this with everyday families.
Now, you've done this for a couple of years now. How many shows have you put together? How often is the show out, and what does it take to produce one?
Well, those are all good questions. We move pretty slow. We've done one a year. We started with my family, and then we did a family from Texas, the Smith family from Goldthwaite, Texas, and we brought that show out last fall. And we are about to introduce two new families, the Barreras family from New Mexico and the Ferruta family from Los Angeles. And we are just wanting to take our time, find families who have stories that we think are compelling, and it is quite a process. It takes about 9 months to put one together adequately because you have to first research and find the family, and then you have to work with the family closely to pull all their archival information together, storyboard their story so you understand how they're going to tell it, arrange the filming date, get the whole family in the same place at the same time. It goes on and on and on. And, of course, a lot of work is done in post-production. You mentioned the look of the show. And a lot of that, of course, happens in post-production, not just when you're capturing the family on film.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post. That's what they always say in television. And
it's amazing what you can do in post these days. But it's what I call the secret sauce that really makes our American family stand up alongside shows like American Experience and the like.
Yes. And, you know, it's so fun to see so many of these come out because I can't pick from one to the next. As I want to watch them all.
Yeah, well, it's kind of cool. You know, what I'm hoping is going to happen is that we are going to get enough viewership and syndication that we are going to be able to, if you will, earn our way into national public television distribution. We're on the way to that. You have to be able to show that you have been picked up by 75% of the country at some point or another to kind of earn your way into that national consideration. And right now, we're sitting right around 55%, and we're hoping that these next two shows are going to kind of push us on up toward that 75%, what we call common carriage rate.
Now, how long is each show?
They are 30-minute programs.
Okay. And so these stations have all picked them up, so they're all over the place. And, of course, if people want to see it, they can go to ouramericanfamilytv.com. You can find out exactly where the show is showing in your area.
And more importantly than that, Scott, you know, because we're syndicated, it really is the local program director's option in every market, whether or not they choose to show us or not. And for your listeners out there, if this is the kind of thing that appeals to you and that you value, we would appreciate you reaching out to your local public television station and encouraging them to show Our American Family.
We're talking to Steve Young. He's the producer of Our American Family. It's a syndicated public TV show about family history. It's a compelling piece. I've watched some of the episodes online. And, Steve, you got to tell us, what is your favorite story so far that you've run across?
Certainly one that's going to grab everyone is going to be a story from the Ferruta family. The Ferruta family is a Japanese-American family based in Huntington Beach, California. And as you might suspect, based on the time period that we cover, which is in the first half of the 1900s, this family has an internment camp story. In fact, the father of the family was married in the internment camp. And what is so compelling to me about their story is that they came to make a better life for themselves to the United States, were doing quite well when the war broke out, and they were required to go to an internment camp. And they lost everything. They lost their land. They lost their business. By the time they got back, it was all gone. And this family was not bitter. It's just astounding to me. They were not bitter, certainly had a right to be bitter. And instead, they said, this is still a great country. We still have an opportunity to make something of ourselves. And they went right back at it again. And one statement that really brought tears to everyone's eyes during the filming was the son of the father, who has now passed away, said that nothing would make his father prouder than knowing that his family was considered for an episode of Our American Family.
Isn't that a great tribute?
I mean, that just put us on the floor. I mean, we were just floored by it, and we're honored to have a chance to know this family. And it's really a great reflection of what is so wonderful about this country. We are diverse, but we hold many values in common, and I'm hoping that this series lifts that up.
So, Steve, what do you do the rest of the time?
When I'm not doing these crazy projects, I am the executive director of Living Waters for the World. We are a water humanitarian organization that trains volunteer teams to put in clean water systems all over the world, and I certainly enjoy that work very much.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and good luck with Our American Family. Once again, it's available at ouramericanfamilytv.com. You can actually see some of the work that Steve has done. It's available, hopefully, in your area on public television. It's syndicated, so it's kind of hit and miss at this point. But, Steve, we hope you hit your goal of national recognition by PBS stations in the not-too-distant future.
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. Really do appreciate the opportunity to share with you today.
And coming up next, she's a family history artiste with all kinds of ideas on teaching your kids to appreciate family history through art. We'll talk to Valerie Atkinson in 5 minutes on Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and ExtremeGenes.com.
Got a brick wall in your family tree? Don't know how to break through it? Get professional help from Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services. Speak directly with an experienced genealogical researcher, not a salesperson, by calling toll-free 1-877-537-2000. When you call, ask how you could win a free 1-hour consultation with an expert genealogist. Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services, with over 35 years of research experience. Visit heritageconsulting.com. Did you know your family's memories are being destroyed a little at a time every day? It's true. Old home movies, slides, photos, and audio recordings fade over time. The longer you delay the digitizing of these priceless artifacts, the more likely it is they'll be gone one day. That's why you need to call the Multimedia Center.
I brought in VHS videotape and had them transferred to DVD.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
And welcome back to Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here with Valerie Atkinson. She is an artiste extraordinaire in the family history genre. Welcome to the show, Valerie. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
I had somebody get in touch with me recently about a display that they saw that you did relating to your family history, that you created this artistic thing, and I've seen it online, that goes back like 1,000 years. Let's start with this. Your family history and your interest in it, where did all that develop?
When I went to New York City to go to graduate school, people would always ask me where I was from. And I would say, well, I'm kind of from the Midwest, but I grew up all over the place. We moved around a lot. And that kept coming up. And I realized at one point that instead of where wasn't from like a landscape, from a state or something like that, but I was from people. And I knew a lot about the people because my parents, as we moved around, would tell us about our ancestors and about our family history. And that kind of gave us an identity rather than where we were. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I began to be interested, and I just realized how much I knew about the people that I was from, which was a lot of information. I felt like we'd been to ancestral homes, I'd heard the stories, and I knew quite a bit. And so I decided that I was going to make a self-portrait, I guess you could say. And I was going to write on my studio wall all of my ancestors. and the known ancestors. And the shape that that image would make with all that written information would be a self-portrait in some, in my eyes.
So you don't have necessarily a hometown, but you have your home family. And that's the thing that was grounding you. I remember back when I was a kid, there was this thing that we used to do with chewing gum or bubble gum wrappers, and we'd make these long link chains. And what you did kind of reminded me of that. They were like triangular, and they linked together. And how many generations back did that go?
So that piece is called Hanging Family History. And after I worked on the walls and these pieces were painted over, I decided I wanted to make something three-dimensional that would be permanent. And so I started at the top with myself, and I made a triangle armature out of copper wire and wrapped it with paper, with rice paper. And I used a triangle because it went from 1 point to 2 points. And so I could put my mom and my dad, I could hook them onto them, and then I could hook their parents onto them and their parents onto them. Also, a triangle is an architectural structure that can hold weight. So this piece starts with one triangle at the top. My parents are hooked into me, their parents, their parents, their parents. And it goes back actually 2,000 years to 9 AD.
2,000 years.
And there are just thousands of people on this hanging family history. And I got the information from Ancestral File in about the year 2000. And I didn't worry about whether it was right or not. It was the known information, the best known. And this is an art piece. It's not historical.
Right.
And it represented, even though it was my ancestry, it represented everyone in that we are all made of thousands of people from generations and generations beyond us. And it really could be, anyone putting themselves in that place.
Well, in Europe right now, there is an understanding that many people in Europe have the most common recent ancestor. They believe it is as recent as the 1400s for much of Europe.
I believe that's true.
And so when you talk about how we all tie in together, I mean, consider that.
Yeah, right.
And so you must obviously tie into some royal lines to go back that far.
I believe so, yes. So I think, I'm a descendant of Charlemagne, like
everybody.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. That's the other thing, is that if you go back to everybody living in England around the year 1000 who has descendants living today, we all descend from all of them, is the way that works. So, good to see you, cousin.
Exactly.
So what could you tell people about how to artistically connect with their families? Because I think a lot of people can be intimidated by the research process and creating their charts, their pedigrees, their family groups. But perhaps art is another way also to involve children into this.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And actually, one thing that my parents did, or my mom, was she collected a few family stories. And when we were kids, she asked us to illustrate them. So we have this family storybook that she created, 1976 or something like that. And we all contributed stories, and we still have, that's a family treasure. That was one project of many, and other people in my family are actually interested in this. My mother is a very good writer, and she wrote many, many letters to her parents.
Something we don't see much anymore.
Exactly. Well, then it turned to emails, but she wrote about us and what we did. But through those letters, especially her writings about travels that they made, trips and things. My brother, for example, collected all of those trips and made a book that we call Travels with Mary Ann, which is really a treasure for all of us. Another thing that we did was she also wrote a letter when we were moving away from Michigan, and she was writing about the animals that she was going to miss. We lived on a lake, and so she was writing about these different animals. That was something that I illustrated to make a children's book. So there are ways that you can involve kids and involve adults in preserving these types of artistic things that your ancestors do, or making them artistic yourself. Kids illustrating family stories is a great idea.
That's easy, isn't it?
And it is easy. And I think that those things, if they're just put in a book and preserved, are going to be cherished at a later time.
Now, don't beat me up over this, but is there a way for other people to learn how you created your long line of triangles I mean, because I know you're an expert artiste.
Well, it took me a year and a half. So if they want to spend that much time on...
Are there any simple instructions on how to do that one? Because it is beautiful. And I want to point out, by the way, we've linked to it. It's on our website. You can see it at extremegenes.com. So you can see what Valerie has created. It's absolutely fantastic.
The interesting thing about it was I wanted to see what that shape looked like of that known information. And many people, including myself, have commented that it actually looks like a DNA strand, which is what it represents, is the passing on of this DNA from one generation to another. So I really liked that part about it, that it was this kind of micro and macro piece in and of itself. Charts and these family group sheets that you print out, like a stack of genealogy files, isn't particularly interesting to look at. But there are so many stories, there are so many places and landscapes and visual information that are tied to these people. And in my work, what I tried to do was just give that information life. So I've done murals on walls where I actually illustrated landscapes. This most recent piece that I did in this most recent show was actually laser cut metal, and it incorporated landscapes, incorporated images from stories, from family histories and journals to kind of trace a pictorial generation. It was 10 generations of my matriarchal line. And so your normal fan chart that, you can print out, well, maybe there's some embellishment you can do with that, where people lived or, houses they lived in. And I think there's just a lot of potential there.
I mean, ultimately, it's the stories that make us connect, not the charts, not the group sheets. There are lots of different ways, as you've pointed out today, is to express those stories.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
I think it's really interesting, and I really appreciate your coming on and taking the time to share your thoughts on that today, because obviously it really affected you decades ago.
Absolutely. I think that there's a real desire for people, young children, and especially teenagers, to feel like they have an identity, that they have roots. And exploring ancestors is a really great way. And especially because, they didn't have perfect lives. I mean, they had disappointments, they had joys, they had victories, but they also had struggles. And
made mistakes,
sometimes really big mistakes. And those are things that we can learn from and are just really, I think, valuable to us to put our lives into perspective, that, we're not the only person that is going through whatever we're going through. There's just been lots of people before us who have gone through it. That is life.
Absolutely. Valerie Atkinson, she's the artist. You can find out more at valerieatkinson.com. You got to put KISS right in the middle of it.
That's right.
Right? Okay. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
And on the way, Tom Perry, our preservation authority from tmcplace.com, with an announcement you're going to want to hear if you're ever planning on doing a family reunion. It's on the way in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and extremegenes.com.
Remember how fun it was to capture those special moments of your children's childhood on video and watch it back, knowing that you'd be able to have that memory forever? Or watching a home movie of your own childhood and seeing many of your loved ones who are now gone. If you haven't yet digitized those family treasures, you're at risk of losing all of them with each passing day. Time and elements slowly destroy videos and film, as well as rare old photos and audio recordings. Rescuing your memories is what tmcplace.com has been doing for over 40 years. They can transfer all these discs and hard drives so you and your family can enjoy them digitally for generations to come, and without damaging the originals. They provide free shipping both ways on most orders. They even offer GPS real-time tracking of your package so you can be confident that nothing can ever be lost in transit. Call toll-free 1-866-483-1717 to talk to Extreme Genes Preservation Authority Tom Perry about your special project, or order online at shop.tmcplace.com.
How's your family history research going? Are you stuck on a difficult line? Don't know how to start? Let the professionals at Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services help. Heritage Consulting has been providing professional research and consultation services since 1978. They can help you find your own personal family history for far less than you would expect by researching, collecting, analyzing and interpreting the numerous historical documents your ancestors left in their lifetimes. They'll then provide you with a professionally written report in book or electronic form that you and your family can enjoy for literally generations. Knowledge of your ancestors forges stronger ties within your family and helps children better appreciate who they are within the context of your family history. Call Heritage Consulting Genealogy Research Services right now. The call is free. Dial 1-877-537-2000. That's 1-877-537-2000. You'll speak directly to an expert genealogist. Find out more at heritageconsulting.com.
Hey, welcome back to Extreme Genes Family History Radio on ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here with Tom Perry, our preservation authority from TMCplace.com. I am so proud of you. This is an exciting new project you've got going on.
Yeah, this is awesome. It's never been done before in North America. It's incredible. What we're doing is we're opening a new campus in northern Utah. It's going to be about an hour north of Salt Lake City, and it's a 5-acre site. We have 34,000 square feet under roof. So you can come for family reunions, family gatherings. It's basically, we're calling it the Family Preservation Campus.
Wow. So not only do you have the reunion there, but you can use that place to start saving your items so everybody can share your images, your old movies, because you've got all the equipment for it right there.
Oh, exactly. And one of the neatest part about it, everybody's got a friend or a grandma or a cousin or something that has some photos or some slides that they will not let out of their hands. And they've said, you know, when I'm gone, you'll have to pry it out of my cold, dead hand.
Which we often do.
Exactly. We do that. I've done it. Been there, done that. And so these people, when they come to your family reunion, they can actually come into the facility that we're building, and they can actually scan them themselves. They'll have one of our pros there to help them, but they never leave their site. They never leave their hands.
Boy, what a great thing. And for the kids, too, you know, as the young cousins want to get together and get to know one another, they've got indoor basketball courts, exercise room, game room, and arcade, outdoor soccer field, places for camping, the RV parking. And where is this again?
It's in northern Utah. It's actually called Garland, Utah, which is the sweetest city in all of America.
Okay.
They used to raise sugar beets there.
And so are you taking reservations on this thing yet?
Yeah. We've already started taking reservations for as early as June. And like I say, you can come in and spend a week. You can spend a day, a weekend, do day trips. If you want to fly in, we'll pick you up at the airport. We have a shuttle to take you to BYU for any conference activities they're having down there for their genealogy conferences. Basically, we're going to almost have a mini Roots Tech there to provide for your family.
Unbelievable. The new Family Preservation Campus. And the reservations are done where? Through what address?
They can go right to our website. They can go to either Ask Tom at tmcplace.com for any questions. We have stuff up on our website about it. Call us on the phone, and we can get you all set up. But it's an absolutely amazing thing. It's been a dream of mine forever. I just love helping people preserve their memories. Nothing makes me happier than seeing, you know, a grandmother crying as she's looking at a DVD of, you know, her family that she hasn't seen for years, or photos that we have scanned for her.
Now, I'm looking at these numbers here, 34,000 square feet indoors. So basically,
exactly.
If you have this reunion, you can actually stay on the campus. You can be indoors during bad weather or cold temperatures, or outdoors enjoying these 5 acres. What a great idea.
We'll even make up special playing cards for the family that are called Family Fun Facts. If you can send us 52 Family Fun Facts, we'll make up a deck of cards that they can sit and play different games.
Unbelievable. And you can also interview some of the older people in the families while they're there.
Oh, yeah. We'll have a full recording studio. They can sit and watch their movies and narrate them right while they're there.
All right. And you can make reservations at asktom@tmcplace.com. I'm so excited you told us about that. All right. Coming up in the next segment,
we are going to finish our discussion on discs, on Blu-ray, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, and all those acronyms.
And what do they mean? We'll find out next with Tom Perry, our preservation authority on Extreme Genes Family History Radio and ExtremeGenes.com.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com.
And welcome back to Extreme Genes Family History Radio, extremegenes.com. Final segment today with our preservation authority, Tom Perry from tmcplace.com. And if you have a question for Tom, we'd love to hear from you. Just write to asktom@tmcplace.com. You might hear your question answered on the air. Now, last couple of weeks, we've been getting into this whole thing about how different discs that are the same physical size hold different amounts of information. You've done a great job with that.
The thing that you need to remember is, as we were talking about light waves, the smaller the light wave, the smaller impressions it can make on a disc. So in essence, a Blu-ray uses a lot smaller disc, so the chambers on the disc are actually smaller, so it can stack more chambers on it. So it's kind of the thickness of the light. Then another person asks us, well, what's the difference? Why can I go to a store and buy a Tao-Yuden disc that's cost $1, but I can buy these other ones for like 30, 50 cents? What's the difference? It's the quality of the dye. Just like when you go to the gas station, there's different qualities of gas.
Sure.
There's different qualities of dye. So you want a good dye, and I'm a promoter of Tao-Yuden disc. I have never had one come back, not one. So they're good quality dye. We put a 100-year warranty on all the ones that we sell. If you go to the M disc, then they actually engrave the information on the polycarbonate, so that's even more secure. And you can also go to what's called a replicated disc, which when you're a replicated disc, which would be like a Disney DVD that you'd buy in the store, they actually do what's called a glass master or a glass mother. They make a mold, and the discs are actually stamped out. So there's no dye, there's no ons and offs in the dye. There's actually pits that are actually in the disc that tell it whether it's an on or an off like the dye does. So the only way you're going to damage one of those is to actually crack your disc or break the disc.
Tom, is there a better disc for, say, videos or home movies, and then a different one that you would use for photograph storage?
No, not really, but that is a good question. I would always use Tao-Yuden disc, the best quality. But that brings up a very interesting thing. What people have to be careful with is when you buy a disc, they think this is a DVD disc, this is a data disc, this is a ROM disc, this is a game disc. They're really all the same thing. It's the way that you actually format the disc, what it's going to be. For instance, we had a lady come in the store just last week, and she brought in this disc, and she says, hey, I have this video DVD, and it won't play on my DVD players. So we pop it in one of ours, won't play on ours either. I pop it into my Mac, and then I can actually see the format of the disc. If it says TS video and TS audio, it's a video DVD. It's still a DVD, but it's been formatted to play video. Hers didn't have this. Hers had executable files, which as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, this is a PC. Somebody has made this disc to play on a PC, won't play on a Mac. Got to play on a PC. So you pop it in, and generally it'll start automatically and play this lady's video. And that's how she saw it at her brother's house, because he had a PC. So we had to take this disc and turn it into a video DVD, so then she could play it on a normal DVD. So whether you're talking about data disc, whether you're talking about DVD ROMs, which are usually computer programs, they're basically the same thing. It's just the way you tell that disc to be. Like we talked about a few weeks ago, you have a big roll of steel. You can turn that into scalpels for a surgeon, or you can turn it into paper clips. It's the same still. When you're looking at DVDs or CDs or whatever, CDs are smaller. They're the smaller box we talked about, usually about 700 megabytes on them. So if you have a few photographs that you're scanning or some small music or things like that, those are great because it's the size of it. It doesn't need anything bigger than that. If you want to put a whole bunch of photos, like high-resolution photos, film, videotapes, you generally want to use a DVD because it holds 4.5 gigabytes. So you're getting quite a bit more information on that. When we scan photos for people in one of our facilities, we generally put them on DVDs. Blu-rays, you can get 25 gigs, 50 gigs, 128 gigabytes. And also, as we've talked about before, next summer, Sony and Panasonic is coming out with a 1 terabyte.
Wow, that's great stuff. Thanks so much, Tom Perry, our preservation authority. Thanks also to Valerie Atkinson, the family history artist who gave some great advice about helping kids to get into family history through art. And to Steve Young, producer of Our American Family. You can see it on PBS. Find out more on our website. Don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Give us a like on Facebook, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for joining us. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.